Hi everyone, thanks again for tuning in to Sin's Workshop here on YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about In the Study with the Wrench. It's a fun mystery novel, and I have to say I loved it. This is probably one of my highly anticipated novels of this year because I read the first one. I got an ARC last year, the first book, In the Hall with the Knife, and I devoured it. So I was really lucky again to get an ARC of In the Study with the Wrench because I absolutely loved the first novel. I thought it was incredibly brilliant, well done, loved it. And this novel, it really keeps up the momentum. It is different, I will say that, because the first novel really is more focused on adapting the Clue board game and introducing the reader into these characters and their secrets, and you're trying to solve the murder of Mr. Bonnie. Um, and you get to discover it was in the hall with a knife. But I won't tell you who, because then that would spoil it, and I definitely think it's a novel worth reading. So I think I liked the first novel a tad bit more just because it was a more straightforward adaptation of the game. I thought it was very clever and very creative. You can check out my full review on sinsworkshop.com. A link to my blog is in the description below. But I'm not saying I didn't like this novel. I loved it. I pretty much devoured it in almost one sitting. If it weren't for the fact that I can only read once my son is asleep late at night, I probably would have devoured it in one sitting. But it was excellent. I loved it. I thought it was so well done. I like her voice. Her voice. The author Diana. I don't want to say her last name because I've tried practicing it. In fact, this is like my third recording of this review, and I cannot get her last name right. I butcher it, and I don't want to continue butchering it. So, Diana, she is so well versed in storytelling, and there's a little bit of Agatha Christie in her work. And if you're an Agatha Christie fan, I definitely highly recommend this novel because it's very mature. It is a young adult story, yeah, but that shouldn't deter you from picking it up and reading it. I mean, I'm 29 years old, and that doesn't stop me. I think if a story's good, it's worth reading regardless of age. Who cares if it's called young adult? And I think people who are just like, oh, well, that's for young adult, and kind of diminish work based on that, I think they need to rethink their outlook. And I've had professors like that in college who definitely have their noses up their tushies. I went to a liberal arts college. They were all writers, published, and boy, did they like to remind us. Very haughty-taughty. But anyway, I think it's definitely worth reading because it's a lot of character development in this series, especially in this novel. All these characters, they are all having to contend with everything that happened in the first novel. And yeah, some of them have formed very close bonds with other characters. But you have other characters who are still trying to figure things out. Peacock, she's so focused on trying to be a good person. After the events of the first novel, she didn't like how everyone was looking at her like a bad person, like a villain. Plum is kind of struggling with his sexuality. He's unsure if he's gay, if he's bi, if he's straight. He does have an attraction to a male character, and he's trying to figure that out. So, and then you have Orchid, who is, dealing with her own secrets and a stalker. You have Scarlet, who has to deal with the stress of living. I mean, these are multi-layered characters. They are so full of dimension, and they're so full of life, and they're very relatable, and I think that that's key in the storytelling here to make relatable characters. You know, I'm reading the story and I'm invested in these characters, especially after the events of book one, because it's like, okay, what's going to happen next? And it's a slow build. I will say that. It is a slow build novel because, of course, it opens up with a murder. That's to be expected, but it takes just a little long to get to that point, you know. I think the author was mostly just trying to rebuild her story here. Um, no, rebuild is the wrong choice of words. She's trying to pick up. She's picking up where the last novel left off, and so she's really trying to do a character study almost of where everyone is at this point, how the school has been affected by the murder of Mr. Body. You know, she's trying to, not trying, she's reintroducing the reader into the world that she has structured here. She's, you know, reminding the readers of the secrets of that were revealed in the book, in the first book, and I don't think that that's entirely necessary. I don't mind it. Usually, when authors recap the events of the first book, I just prefer if it's more spaced out rather than here it is all at the beginning. I think it really did slow down the pacing of the novel because, you know, after you start off like, ooh, murder, and then you're like, okay, when are they going to find his body? Like, when is everything going to start unveiling? It takes just a little bit too long to get to that point, in my opinion. That being said, once it does, you know, the tension is rising and rising and rising. Sorry, I'm recording downstairs, and my cats, Lily and Tonks, are going a little crazy playing with each other. Usually they're sleeping, but whatever. But like I was saying, it takes a little too long to get to this point of the revelation. But once it does, you know, the rising tension is there, you know, it really does grip the reader in the story. And I really do enjoy that because it is a gripping story. Let me tell you, I love the rising tension. I love how she exhibits a little bit of Agatha Christie in her writing style. And I also like how she structures it because it's not just all narrative and storytelling. She does have, it's just Peacock story arcs. Her chapter segments, they are just email correspondences between her and her life coach. And I thought that that was well done. It wasn't jarring at all for me. Sometimes when authors switch kind of mediums for writing, I'm kind of thrown sometimes because sometimes it doesn't feel like it fits. I just kept reading. You know, it flowed. It didn't seem jarring to me at all. It was just do. It was very smooth, you know, structurally. I wasn't taken aback. I was kind of really interested in why, you know, she chose these email correspondences with her life coach. You know, why is this Beth's, you know, Peacock's perspective? Why is it being told in this way? And ultimately, it makes sense by the end of the story. You're like, what? And that's what I liked about it. It was very well written. It was structurally sound, and the characters are all multi-layered. You know, they have so many different facets to them. They have to contend with so much, and I really did enjoy that. You know, I really did like how they are having to deal and grow from the events of first novel, and you know, their secrets are still haunting them. All of them still have secrets. Yeah, most of the secrets came out in the first novel, but they're dealing with the ramifications of their secrets coming out, and I think that is what was interesting. Because you get to see the characters change, you get to see the dynamic shift, you get to see new alliances formed. And ultimately, it's enjoyable, and I ultimately loved it. I thought this was a great book. I probably would have devoured it in one sitting if I got to read before midnight. But now that I'm back at work, working, full time, uh, I really only get to. Luckily, they're all night shifts because I work in a movie theater, and it doesn't make sense for us to be open during the day when people are at work. So luckily, I do get to stay up for a little late and read once my son is asleep, because that's really the only time I get to read. So I probably would have read this in one sitting because it's really good. It's gripping. The tension is rising steadily. It's so well done. It's so well structured. I really do think it is a well done novel ultimately, and I'm excited. After the cliffhanger, especially given the secrets. Oh my god, I need to know what's. Excuse me. I need to know what's going to happen in book 3. Like, I need to know. Because you can't just leave off on a cliffhanger like that, and then you're just like, but what about? What about? What about? That was me. I was just like, I need to know what's going to happen. I do. So I need to read book 3. I do. I really, really do. But in any case, this was In the Study with the Wrench. It's the second novel in the Clue Mystery series. Highly recommend it. I'm going to go ahead and give it 4.5 stars out of 5. In the Hall with a Knife, I did give that novel 5 stars because it blew me away. This one, like I said, I think it takes a little bit too long to get to that high tension moment to skyrocket the story. Especially after an opening like that, you're like, what? And then it kind of it goes like, and then it goes, and then, steadily rising. I just think that downward slope after that, first chapter, prologue, introduction, whatever you want to call it, I think the sudden drop and the time spent on kind of reminding readers what happened in the first novel, I don't think that was wholly necessary. I think the same thing could have been done, but I think it could have been better if it were like trickled in throughout the novel, instead of just all at the beginning. Because, wow, that's just me though. So once again, In the Study with a Wrench, gonna give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. If you want to go ahead and purchase the book, I recommend purchasing it off of bookshop.org. I will provide a link in the description below, because all proceeds do go to supporting local booksellers, and I think during this time, booksellers do need as much help as they can get. Now, if money's too tight, which I know for a lot of us it is, I definitely recommend checking out this book from your local library. Libraries are a great resource for the community and definitely deserve our support. And on that note, I hope you will support me by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And as always, happy reading!